call the meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This is an open meeting of the Seward, Nebraska governing body. The city of Seward abides by the Nebraska Open Meetings Act in conducting business. A copy of the Nebraska Open Meetings Act is displayed on the north wall of this meeting room facility as required. Disclosure of meeting recording processes is posted in the meeting room. Any citizen may address the council regarding items included on the meeting agenda and are asked to complete and submit a speaker card to the clerk prior to the meeting. The mayor will call speakers to the podium when the item is being considered. Presenters shall approach the podium, state their name and address for the clerk's record, and are asked to limit remarks to 5 minutes. All remarks shall be directed to the mayor, who shall determine by whom any appropriate response shall be made. The city of Seward reserves the right to adjust the order of items on this agenda if necessary, and may elect to take action on any of the items listed. Please call the roll.
Kaler. Here. Singleton.
Here.
Streisand.
Here.
Morgan.
Here.
Wilkin.
Here.
We have a quorum present.
All right, thank you. First 5 items this evening make up the consent agenda.
I'll move the consent agenda.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please register your votes. Please display the votes.
Voting in favor, Wilkin, Kaler, Singleton, Streisand, Morgan, 5-0.
Right. Item number 1 under administrative items is consideration of a claim from Trudy Super, 711 Park Avenue for personal property damage in the amount of $13,827.50. Greg.
We have the claim from Trudy that is included inside of your packet here. It's in relation to the Park Avenue storm sewer project and roadway reconstruction that took place in relation to that. The super was pretty detailed in her claim, so I feel confident that there's enough there for us to move it on for disposition, which is for us is standard. We make a recommendation for disposition to the city attorney and our insurance carrier for them to move it on. I'll note that Trudy's here with us tonight, and so if there's any specific questions, we can get those answered. But again, most of the stuff in the detail is included in Trudy's claim there. So that's all I have.
I recommend that we send the claims to the city attorney and our insurance company for further review.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Anything else, Greg?
Nope.
Please register your votes. Please display the votes.
Voting in favor, Wilkin, Kaler, Singleton, Streisand, Morgan, 5-0.
Oh, you're good, Trudy. We'll send it on, unless you wanted to say something.
I mean, I have video. It was a terrible video, and I have witnesses. A witness to when and that was just the estimate I got from a
Yep.
mason. I don't know.
I think you included more detail than we would normally get, so I think
Really?
that's good for
Oh,
us to
good.
pass it
Okay,
on, and
so,
we
but
can.
any questions, I certainly, would be I will be available to answer them.
Okay,
So,
I'm
thank you so
guessing
much.
our insurance carrier will be contacting you
Okay.
in short order after the claim's forwarded on to them, and
I
then
appreciate
they'll
that.
start processing
Thank
and
you so
figure
much
out.
for doing this in such a speedy manner. It's much appreciated. Thank
So,
you
you bet.
very much.
Okay. Item 2 is consideration of a change order in the amount of $59,774.92 to the construction contract with General Excavating for the Bradford Street Storm Sewer Improvements Project. Welcome, Mike.
Thank you. So this particular work order, this will become part of a future change order. We'll collect several work orders together. This particular work order, though, allows contractor to proceed. They actually have already completed construction. We brought up the issue of the brick pavers at the intersection of Bradford and 7th Street. Got approval to pave entirely with concrete. We finally got the unit costs from the contractor, and they're presenting presented here today. The middle one, the 7-inch concrete pavement for 150 square yards in this table on a single-page work order for $11,812.50. Is not marked as a negative, but that is, if you do the math, it is subtracted. So that was the cost for placing concrete only in the areas of the excavation for the storm sewer pipe. And of course, we had agreed that we would do the entire intersection in concrete. And so the balance of this work order is to remove all the brick pavers for the entire intersection and replace with concrete. Just randomly, the thickness increased due to the fact that they repaved in equal thickness to the existing brick, sand layer, and underlying concrete was the underlayment. And so that's the reason for the 7.5-inch concrete pavement replacement. So it is complete. It drains well. It's very smooth, so we're very happy with it. So I ask for approval of this work order in the amount of $59,774.92.
All right, thanks, Mike. Are there any questions or comments from the council?
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please register your votes. Please display the votes.
Voting in favor, Wilkie, Kaler, Singleton, Streisand, Morgan, 5-0.
Okay, Item 3, consideration of a change order in the amount of $16,014.48 to the construction contract with General Excavating for the Park Avenue Storm Sewer Improvement Project. Mike.
Thank you so much. So this is another one of our active projects, Park Avenue. This is actually a credit of $16,000, and so instead of the bid item where we're going to sod all of the front yards, we've elected to change that to seeding, and so we have a process of drilling the seed in, fertilizing first, drilling the seed in, and then spreading with a hydro mulch. Due to the unavailability of contractors, we do have a scheduled date with a qualified contractor for mid-November to do this work, so it would be dormant seeding. We essentially need to seed by mid to late September in order to give the grass shoots enough time so they could survive through a winter. And so we do think this is effective. When this project was designed, we adopted NDOT's design, which is in all urban areas, to sod. They include 30 days of watering 3 times a day. However, we find that sod without a formal irrigation system is unsuccessful the vast majority of the times. And so it's far better to seed and hydromulch instead. So it did allow us to bring in some high-quality topsoil. So this topsoil came from the state's interstate project, the median. All that soil was removed. Hartman salvaged that, stored it as yard, and so that was the source of this high-quality topsoil that is in place now, and the seeding and hydromulch operation will occur in mid-November. So this is indeed a credit of $16,000 to proceed in this manner, and indeed none of the yards that are effective have any irrigation system. So this has been quite successful in other projects. East Seward was an example where there was 5 yards that were seeded or sodded. They were irrigated. They were very successful. One of those, he hand waters. He was able to successfully get the sod to take. And then in other areas out in East Seward that didn't have irrigation, we did do the same process with the same contractor, and we had very good results compared to other contracts in previous projects. So with that, I recommend approval of work order number 4, and the credit amount is $16,014.48.
Move approved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for approval. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please register your votes. Please display the votes.
Voting in favor, Wilkie, Kaler, Singleton, Streisand, Morgan, 5-0.
All right, item number 4, consideration of an amendment number 2 to the owner-engineer agreement with the Schemmer Associates for construction engineering services for the 6th Street Water Main Improvements Project in the amount of $23,171.60. Mike.
Thank you. So about 2-3 weeks ago, we were informed by the state that indeed another area of storm sewer improvements on the state highway project intersected with one of our water mains. And so this here is for the engineering portion, the design, as well as the inspection, to actually drop a portion of the main on North Avenue just east of Highway 15, 6th Street, to move it out of the way. It also forces us to take 3 houses on North Avenue and modify their services. So there was an old 4-inch main that goes behind there in through their backyards, and instead we're going to move those services to the brand new water main, circa 2020 water main that runs along North Avenue, the same water main that we're actually a 30-foot chunk of which we are lowering for this. The engineer doesn't think that they will need the entire sum, $23,171. They will bill based on the time that they actually spend on the project. The design is complete. The contractor is actually this week working on those improvements. And so for expediency, I did ask him just simply prepare an amendment as if the work was independent. So they believe that we'll come in under that amount of $23,000. It is for 171 hours. About 40 hours is in the design process, and another 125 hours in construction services. About 63 of those, about half of that, is for the direct inspection. And so, yes.
Was amendment number 1, was that Hillcrest?
That was Hillcrest, so that was the previous amendment for that, surprise conflict of a large water main crossing the highway at Hillcrest. So similarly, and unfortunately, in that case, we had about 2 months' notice, and in this case, we have to finish it by the end of the month, so we had about 4 weeks' notice on this. And so I did speak with the NDOT construction manager. He did, his perspective is he cited attrition at NDOT, and he said that their utility coordination group had really dropped the ball. That was his direct expression, dropped the ball on this. And so we've had a number of conflicts throughout the project, and it's the state's right of way, simply all utilities have to move their utilities out of the way, right, at the state's call. So
It's a very similar nature to the way we treat some of our other utilities around here as well when we have city projects like Waverly Road. And we're like, hey, telecoms, you gotta move back, you gotta move out. Black Hills, you gotta move to the other side of the road. It's our right of way. And so, and we still even have ones, I think we had some service line issues again that crept up this week.
we do.
Where we had already gone in and adjusted service lines, and then now they're directly above them doing the physical labor and installing the roadway, and they're like, yeah, you gotta fix these again now for us.
So if I may explain in a broader sense, we typically have very deep, 8 to 10 feet, our sanitary sewer system. Then roughly 5 to 6 feet deep is our drinking water, potable water system. And then shallower than that, generally 3 to 4 feet, is our storm sewer system. And this particular design from NDOT, the storm sewer system was anywhere from 4 to 7 feet deep. And so it's intersected, in particular, our water main multiple times. And so without the benefit of potholing at the beginning at our cost and identifying on our own, stick by stick, we simply resorted. The state had identified, had a meeting specifically for this purpose, identify conflicts and give everybody prior notice. That was back in February. And they found roughly half. They were very good at the southern half, and somehow the northern half does not meet expectations. So there is so also attached, you have a single page work order number 4. Most of these are bid prices for the quantities. There are a couple of brand new, so we will be receiving a completed work order. It is likely, just like the work order for Hillcrest, involve another mobilization charge. They had demobilized, we brought the equipment back, and so there are costs to the contractor of a third mobilization for this project, so. So we do, that'll be in a future city council meeting where that is proposed.
That was K2, Mike?
K2 is the contractor for this project in particular, yes. They've been very responsive, and so, in fact, to get a utility contractor to return in 2 weeks and start up work, we're quite thankful that we have them available, and they've started work, and they've been doing a good job, and it looks like we're gonna meet our deadline and get it out of the way in time.
The Highway 15 project, they've excavated basically everything that needs to be excavated now, correct?
Correct.
So it's, at least they're getting to the depth and looking at what's down there on site,
There are,
anywhere that's left.
there are a couple, so one exception still is the 15-inch corrugated metal pipe, storm sewer pipe that runs from the Cedar Street detention basin on the east side of the highway up to Hillcrest. And it's questionable yet how many service lines in particular that may intersect.
But that was
So
being reviewed today.
it's being reviewed today, and so we may have, again, a couple of surprises. We did have, again, 3 services out of 9 in that same stretch that are simply too shallow, so when they were installed in 2020, so there's a lower grade to the new highway. And if you see some of the trees that were saved on the west side of the highway, they'll be on mounds of dirt, and that shows you the difference in the old grade versus the new grade. And so they changed what we call the centerline, the vertical profile of the road. It should be smoother, the stormwater should flow better with this design, but the negative consequence is that we had a lot of conflicts, and many of them were surprises, and we've had to pay in these work orders and change orders and amendments the cost of moving those out of the way as we found them.
But this isn't unusual for a project of this size to have these types of things come up, right?
Correct, correct. Although I would say very experienced NDOT construction manager, best I've worked with in my career. Very, very good, organized and unflappable guy. And I think his assessment that they could have done a much better job in identifying conflicts. There has been at NDOT, as many, many employers, but especially the state departments, they've gone through a lot of different employees, right? There's a lot of attrition, a lot of people get better offers, higher money, and so they've actually lost quite a bit of knowledge. They acknowledge this. Just the times that we live in at the moment, and they've done what their best is at this time with the crew that they have, and this is the consequence. But as you're correct, Mayor, in an urban environment, there's bound to be many, many more surprises. So with that, this is partially par for the course.
As far as being on schedule,
Schedule is very good. So actually, this project is still slated to be finished November 15th. And so it does look like all of the pavement, there'll still be some restoration work, yards and things like that, plantings, that'll extend into next year. But the road will be reopened. They hope to have all the driveways, sidewalks, and even sod in yet this year. So with that, we look forward to having an open street in just a few weeks. So, high quality construction too. We've got a good contractor and they've hired good subs. So all the work so far has looked top tier.
good, that's exciting. So everyone will be glad when it's over.
Indeed.
With that, any questions or comments from the council? On item 4, is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and second, is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please register your votes. Please display the votes.
Voting in favor, Wilkie, Kaler, Singleton, Streisand, Morgan, 5-0.
Thank you, Mike. Item 5, consideration of a resolution to designate city items as surplus. Derek?
So we have 5 items tonight. 2 of them are vehicles, so we have a Nissan Leaf Infinity model, it's an electric vehicle. We also have a 2006 Ford pickup, 3/4 ton Super Duty F350. That's for the street department. Those items will be listed on Purple Wave. We used them in the spring and they did a really good job with equipment we had. We had some people bid on things from North Dakota, Missouri, and it brought way higher prices than if we were just putting paper locally. So we'll use them again and hopefully get some good prices. They felt pretty confident that we would get a good bid. Usually with that, you know, it's a competitive environment where someone bids and then you can see what the top bid is and you can kind of go back and forth and it just keeps driving the prices up. Typically what we've done with our city auctions is we've said put in one bid, your best offer, and you might get it for $500, you might get it for $5, you might get it for $5,000, kind of depends on who's going against you. So at least in this way, hopefully we'll have people driving the price up, especially with used vehicles. Seems like people are really wanting those these days, so we'll see how we do with that. For the other items, the Vulcan stove, that's at the Civic Center. We don't really need a stove anymore, there's just not a lot of cooking and stuff going on. We thought we had a buyer for that, and that's why we put it on this surplus auction, but it actually won't work for them, so what the plan is we'll put it out there for surplus, see if anybody bids on it, maybe they won't. If they don't, then at least it's surplus and we can have it there, and if anybody says down the road, hey, you know, this is what we're looking for, we can work on a price with them and get rid of it. As far as the lawnmower and the snow blower, we have a service, lawn service that takes care of the Civic Center, so we don't really need a lawnmower anymore, it's just kinda taking up space. Should be a good working mower. Same with snow blower, both things work perfectly fine, they're not sitting there dead, not working at all. They might need a battery recharge or something like that, but once you clean the dust off both machines, it seems like they'll both work pretty good, so we'll put those in the paper and we'll advertise on social media and set a date for those and receive those by, you know, the secret bid where you put in your best price and either you win it or you don't win it, so we'll set a time for that. Probably be towards the end of this month or beginning of next month on those 3 items. The Purple Wave ones, I think the next one is gonna be in November sometime, so I'm gonna work with the representative from there to get that moving. So those are the 5 items from now. I'm sure we'll have another surplus auction sometime down the road, but those are the things for now that we found that we don't need anymore. And that's about all.
I'll introduce the resolution.
Alright. The resolution has been introduced and is designated as resolution number 2024-32. Would anyone like to move that this resolution be passed and adopted?
I'll move.
Second.
The motion and a second, any further discussion? Seeing none, please register your votes. Please display the votes.
Voting in favor, Wilken, Kaler, Singleton, Streisand, Morgan, 5-0.
Alright, for items 6 and 7, we don't have enough council members to suspend the rules on the ordinances. So what I'd like to do is we can have a discussion on 6 first, and then if someone would like to introduce the ordinance, then I could read the title as the first reading, and then we'll see at the next meeting if we have enough to suspend the rules at that time, or we could do a second reading, and then a third, you know how the drill, how it works. But so for item 6, this is consideration of an ordinance amending the municipal code, initiating a water rate adjustment, increasing total system revenues by 3%, effective with October 2024 billing. Greg, did you want to add anything?
This is an adjustment, the per cubic foot rate was not adjusted, only the customer charged, so that wouldn't equal our 3% rate increase. And so this one was just, filling that in and making sure that was covered. The other one that we'll talk about was simply a math one and 2 single lines. The Excel sheet that creates this just wasn't accurate, and so we caught that afterwards and wanted to get that adjusted. And after talking to Kelly, he's like, yeah, just make sure you draft a new ordinance and bring it back. The wage one that's coming up won't have any major effect on anything, but this one, and not being able to pass it tonight may, because it's supposed to be for October billing. And so by waiting until November 5th to do the second reading and waive all the rules, we would be past the October deadline for billing. The only other option would be is we have a quick meeting one day and just push this one through. So that's the other option. But we would be short on revenues for the projected year if we continue on to November. So I'll leave it to your discretion of what you want us to do and what you guys are up for. But those are the 2 things that occurred on these.
But regardless, we would ask to do the first reading tonight and then decide how we want to proceed on that. So I guess are there any questions or comments on item 6? If not, someone can introduce the ordinance, to which I would read the title, and then we would move on to item 7.
All right, I'll introduce the ordinance.
Alright. An ordinance to amend section 390-1.26 of the municipal code to initiate a water rate adjustment that will increase total system revenues generated by rates charged to customers for service from the water system of the city by 3% effective with the October 2024 and January 2025 billings, to provide for billing thereof, to repeal the original section 390-1.26, to provide for publication of this ordinance in pamphlet form, to provide for a time when this ordinance shall take effect. That would be the first reading. If there's anything else, we can move on to item number 7. Correct, Greg? We
Yep.
good? Okay. Item 7, the consideration of an ordinance amending the comprehensive pay plan, providing for a 3% cost of living adjustment for all pay lines effective October 1, 2024. Do you want to add anything, Greg or Derek?
Nope, I think it was just adjustments to, what were the 2 lines that we adjusted in this one?
So it's just for journeyman lineman and electric lineman, which are identical. The min and max were correct. The math didn't math quite right in Excel. Basically, the only thing that happened there is we wanna make sure we have equal distance in between each step in there. And instead of that happening, it was off by a little bit. So for example, I think one of the steps I was looking at in, instead of being 48.93, it should be like 48.49. So it's just a matter of like 20-30 cents. It's not a whole lot of money, and it only affects one employee actually, because the way our system works with the journeyman lineman, once they reach that step, they're at step 9. That's the way we've written into the job description. So there's only one employee that affects, so it's not really that big of a deal, but we just wanna make sure we get it right.
Got any questions or comments from the council, or would someone to introduce the ordinance?
I'll introduce.
Alright, an ordinance to provide for annual classification of officers and employees of the city of Seward, Nebraska, to provide for longevity pay and payment of part-time employees, to provide for a date such classification and pay ranges of compensation shall become effective, to provide for publication in pamphlet form, to provide for a time when this ordinance shall take effect. That is the first reading. Unless there's anything else, we'll move on to the next item. Item 8 is consideration of an amendment to the lease with New Singular Wireless PCS LLC, also known as AT&T, for placement of equipment on the 500,000-gallon downtown water tower. Greg?
Yeah, these are just updates. We'll have another one coming down the pipeline. We have 2 current wireless carriers on the downtown water tower, AT&T and US Cellular. Verizon is on the north tower. And so this was the one that was approved after some back and forth with AT&T, review by Connor and Kelly. And so we're good with this one. It's pretty simplistic. The US Cellular one is basically a completely new lease that they offered up. So a bit more work has to be done on that one, but we'd like to bring that one hopefully at the next meeting. We think we're at the end of the road on that one. And this basically allows us to transfer over site, longitudes, latitudes, all that stuff, and move them over to the new water tower. So just making sure we're got all our P's and Q's in order, and then understand whatever ground needs they need as well, correct, Mike? So.
Any questions or comments from the council? Or entertain a motion?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion to approve and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please register your votes. Please display the votes.
Voting in favor, Wilkin, Kaler, Singleton, Streisand, Morgan, 5-0.
Item 9, consideration to request an amendment number 2 to the contract with the Nebraska Department of Economic Development regarding proposed accomplishments for CDBG, number 21-DTR-11. Greg?
This is just finishing up our projects based on what was used, what came in, who completed their projects, and who didn't. And so this is just kind of working up our closeouts for this one and then free us up for another round to apply again. So, that's kind of all there is for that one.
Any
So-
questions or comments from the council? Or entertain a motion?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please register your votes. Please display the votes.
Voting in favor, Wilken, Kaler, Singleton, Streisand, Morgan, 5-0.
Great. Item 10, update on the Wellness Center. Welcome, Joel.
Hello, good evening, everyone. So, a little update on all the main areas. Again, the gym and the pool continue to be where a lot of the action's happening. Last week when we were up there, the gym, all the backboards and rims were up on all the hoops, and they had at least half of the curtains up at that point, so the rest of the curtains should be up by now. That's a lot. That's most of the equipment that would be at the ceiling, so they have completed that. And so they are moving on right now to some electrical finishes and install of a duct sock up at the roof, and so, or at the ceiling. What we've been told is the floor is scheduled to be delivered next week, and then it kind of has to sit around and get acclimated, and the humidity level has to be reach a certain level or be the same as everything in there, so that it, when it's placed down, it cures and it fits correctly. So the last week of October is when they will start actually on the flooring in the gym. There's several different pieces with that. First will probably just be a plywood layer over the whole thing, over all of the cement. But again, that the flooring has to kind of just sit there in the and get acclimated to the system in there first. So the gym continues, big improvements every single time we're up there, and so that's gonna continue looking really good. The fitness and studio, a lot of drywall was put up, and so that's looking much more like a regular room now. Drywall and soffits, and so now they're just doing some finishing touches, ceiling paint. The flooring for that is scheduled to begin beginning in November, and that'll be a much simpler process, because in the fitness area, the weight room area, that's just gonna be a 3/4 inch thick rolls of rubber on the floor. So that will be a much easier process. The studio is gonna be a wood floor, but it's gonna be much easier than the gym floor. So that is making headway. The pool is probably the most exciting. When we were up there last Wednesday, they had put in the steps, so we were able to walk down in it. And all the concrete for the base and the foundation of it is done. Some people were sitting in the current channel with the little, where the stools are, or the ledges, the benches. And so we got a pretty good idea how big it is, and it looks very big once you're in it. So that part is progressed quite a bit. Right now, they're pouring the mechanical room and framing it, and they are prepping the pool deck, so everything around there, they're prepping that for that. That'll be the next thing that gets poured. Scheduled for next week. That's a big deal to get that all poured, and then we're gonna have a room that is getting close to looking like a real pool. So that is what's going on with the pool. Classroom, locker room areas, same thing with fitness and studio. A lot of finishing drywall work. They did pour the locker bases last week to put the lockers on top in the locker rooms. And as they continue, they will keep working, going on to finishing touches, casework, flooring. Again, for that is early November. And so we are getting close to those points where all of that is going to be coming in. And for the building, again, outside the pool, we continue to be on schedule for the gym, the fitness studio, and classroom locker rooms for that to be completed by the end of December. We continue to be on schedule for that, and then we'll be waiting on all the little items with the pool yet that will need to be done. But that is, we're staying on schedule, and that it's been it continues to be a good process. The boulevard section, lights were installed on the boulevard, and so that part was complete. They are working quite a bit on the entryway, the exterior entryway, and have a lot of the structure up where the perforated metal structure and overhang as you enter will be up. That's where the sign will be that says Seward Wellness Center, and they're making a lot of progress on that with some cement work up front. We've been told there's about 2 more weeks of sidewalk work around the building, and then that part will be done. So they're getting close to finishing up a lot of those little items around there as well. The last part would be site and landscaping. They're doing final grading and slowly getting down the big pile of dirt that's on the east side, and they are using it. It's going places, and it's going to be graded out, and we will be seeding that side of the east of the building for just a general field that could be used for practice, things like that. Let's see, sprinkler system for landscaping is scheduled to be installed next week, and so we'll have our crew on site, and they'll be putting in sprinklers. Obviously, with all that space, quite a few sprinkler lines going in on that, but that will begin next week, and will probably be a 2 to 3 week process. And then in mid-November is when it's scheduled to, we'll get sod and seed down. So mainly around the building, sod will be laid, and so we'll have a process with the watering where we will have a well up there. We're planning on putting a well, but to begin with, the sprinkler system will be using city water and just from around the building, pulling from that. And then it will be shifted to the well when we have that availability. But also we have that availability to switch it back if something would go wrong with the well at any time. We'll have the mechanism in place to be able to switch and still water everything up there. But everything continues to be on schedule, on plan. It's exciting to see the new things up there, and we are, I think sometime in November, planning another trip up there for people to get a look at it. So more information will come out on that. But by that time, there will be a lot of finishing touches, and you'll be impressed with how it looks inside. So, any questions?
Great, thanks, Joel. Next we have the city administrator's report.
End of the year stuff, closing that out, getting started with the new year. Some of the financial staff is getting ready for audit, our annual audit. And then a big one for us is that ate up a good amount of time over the last 2 weeks is the mayor and I attended the League of Nebraska Municipalities Conference in Lincoln. Checked in with them and the goings on there. So I can answer any other particular questions you have in regards to the administrator's report.
Move approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there further discussion, Rich?
No, I'm just kind of seconding along with Matt.
Okay. You want to third it?
No, I'm gonna hold the second.
Okay,
Second and a half.
fair enough.
Half second.
Half second.
Half second.
That's right.
Was there any further
I stand corrected.
If there's any further discussion, please register your votes. Please display the votes.
Voting in favor, Wilton, Kaler, Singleton, Streisand, Morgan, 5-0.
All right, any future requests for council agenda items or administrative action? Seeing none. Jonathan, welcome.
Thank you, Mayor.
What's going on in our community?
All right, all good stuff. October 22nd, 5:30 p.m., we're hosting a child care service provider training about using artificial intelligence tools to save time in their business. That's right, AI is coming to all of us. We have the Concordia Catalyst competition. We'll have our mentor night on October 29th, 7 p.m. at Spare Time to connect local business professionals with students as they work on their business idea pitches. We need more mentors. I think we're gonna have 35 students this year, so if anyone wants to be a mentor, that would be amazingly helpful, and would encourage you to join us. We rescheduled our Nebraska Tech Builders Challenge. That's the hackathon highlighting how to solve real-world problems with technology. Technology to November 1st and 2nd on Concordia University's campus. This is in partnership with SCC and Seward Public Schools, and will welcome high school and college students from around the region. And November 30th will be both a fifth Saturday to encourage citizens to shop locally in the 14th Annual Christmas Festival. More event details to follow. That's all.
Great, thank you, Jonathan. Next, we have a strategy session.
I move that the city council go into closed session with the mayor, city administrator, city clerk, Jonathan Jank, and the city attorney for the protection of the public interest and to discuss real estate interests at the Seward Rail campus and to provide the city attorney with negotiating guidance for a period not to exceed 30 minutes.
All right, we have a motion, is there a second? We have a motion and a second, please register your votes. Please display the votes.
Voting in favor, Wilkie, Taylor, Singleton, Streisand, Morgan, 5-0.
The council has voted to go into closed session at 7:40 PM for the protection of the public interest and to discuss real estate interests at the Seward Rail campus to provide the city attorney with negotiating guidance. No formal action will be taken. We are in closed session. Thank you, everyone.